Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the lunch. I think the courtyard did a great job for us. I'm Tim Bergstrom, Regional President of Webster Bank and Chairman of the Board of Directors for the Waterbury Regional Chamber. And on behalf of our Board of Directors, many of who are here today, and our Public Policy Committee, I think many of who are also here today, and the entire Chamber membership, I'd like to welcome you to this annual mayoral lunch with our friend Mayor Neil M. O'Leary. Let me begin by thanking our Mayoral Lunch Gold sponsors, Carmody, Torrance, Sandeck, and Hennessy, represented by Mike Reardon. Thank you, Mike. O&G Industries, represented by Jeff Kugna. Thank you, gentlemen. I'd also like to thank our silver sponsors, Barker Specialty, Hubbard Hall, KBE Building Corporation, Montagno Construction Incorporated, Power Station Events, and Sinagro Northeast. Without their support and commitment, today's event would not be possible. So could I ask for a round of applause for our silver sponsors? Our Chamber's Public Policy Committee represents the interests of Chamber members at the local, state, and federal levels of government and provides opportunities for our members to influence public policy. Your attendance today reaffirms your commitment to and involvement of the general business community in the civic affairs here in the city of Waterbury. When you leave here today, there are copies in the back of the Chamber's 2016 Legislative and Regional Agenda. This agenda was developed by the Public Policy Committee and the Chamber staff with input from all of our members on issues that are important to our region's business owners, and that includes many items specific to the city of Waterbury. In addition, Chamber members are represented daily during the legislative process in Hartford by our professional lobbyist, Armando Paolino of Paolino Public Affairs. So in addition to our legislative agenda, this year the Chamber joined with the state's 7 other metro chambers and the Connecticut Business and Industry Association in sending a letter to Governor Malloy asking him to work in a public-private partnership to change the way the state operates. The letter set the goal of creating fiscal certainty and sustainability in the state budget process. Among other things, it asked for a strong and enforceable spending cap, as well as a legislative reform that would create an absolute lockbox over any transportation funding that was approved for the state of Connecticut. And copies of those letters are also available as you leave out in the hallway. I'd also like to add that on March 9th, the Chamber will again charter a bus to the Capitol for Connecticut Business Day. This offers our members a chance to meet directly with our state delegation, with the governor and other state officials. And obviously, given the difficult business climate that we're facing right now, it's imperative that as many business people as possible turn out for this so we can present a unified front to our elected officials. So we hope you'll join us for that. Our chamber, the Waterbury Regional Chamber, always brings one of the largest groups to the Capitol for Connecticut Business Day, and we hope to do that again this year. And I'd like to also thank our board member and friend Chuck Kellogg of Hubbard Hall for again this year sponsoring the bus up to the Capitol. So today we'll hear from Mayor O'Leary as he begins his first 4-year term for a mayor in the history of our great city. He will discuss his administration's plans and hopes for the next 4 years, and after his presentation, he'll gladly take any of your questions. During his first 2 terms in office, Mayor O'Leary has demonstrated a strong commitment to the city's economic revitalization through his support of the Waterbury Development Corporation, Main Street Waterbury, and of course the Waterbury Regional Chamber. He has in fact made economic development a primary focus of his entire administration. In the Chamber, I'm proud to say, has worked closely with him on economic development, and we want to recognize his leadership today on numerous issues that benefit the city's business community. In particular, that includes his efforts towards brownfield redevelopment, for which he's already made tremendous progress. Mr. Mayor, we look forward to continuing our work with you and your administration in equal partnership to assist you in growing the city's grand list and expanding business opportunities and improving the quality of life here in Waterbury. To illustrate the mayor's efforts on brownfields remediation and economic development, we now present the Why Be Here video titled Waterbury, Open for Business, which the Chamber helped to produce. and I think it highlights many of the economic development projects the mayor, the chamber, and WDC and Main Street have worked on together.
For economic development, I'm going to tell you why. Welcome to Waterbury. I'm Neil O'Leary, and I am the mayor of the city of Waterbury.
Why be here for business? It's easy. We have what you need: location, space, skilled workers, and great quality of life.
We're excited because Waterbury is really moving forward. Our economic development plan is starting to pay a huge dividend. This past year and a half, 23 new businesses, almost 1,000 new jobs.
But we also have commitments for another 1,500 employees to come into the city.
Why do manufacturers like King Industries choose Waterbury to build an 80,000 square foot, $50 million state-of-the-art manufacturing complex?
The reason being, we have 10 acres of shovel-ready land ready to go. They're going to build 5 manufacturing buildings behind us, and the workforce is going to be incredible. We're going to increase the jobs by 150 jobs. We're excited to have them come here. They're part of Waterbury Industrial Commons, which, as you can see behind me, is an enormous complex that has been completely redone over the last several years. And we're proud to announce that Bella Industries, which is an international company, is now expanding right inside the walls of that factory, and we're going to be taking over more property soon. So there's many great opportunities here in Waterbury, but in particular in manufacturing.
My name is Frank Montero. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of Platform Specialty Products and its subsidiary McDermott Incorporated. Platform is a, call it roughly $3 billion company. The McDermott operations are $750 million of that $3 billion today. From that period of 2006 until 2013, we were private, and I was actually based in Denver, Colorado. Upon our deal with Platform Specialty Products, we moved back here, and I actually had the choice to go anywhere where any of our operations were, and I chose to come back here to Waterbury.
And to our potential employers, we have some of the finest skilled workforce in the state of Connecticut. That's why people are coming here.
We have a skilled workforce that combines an old-fashioned New England work ethic with state-of-the-art training in the latest technology.
Since we've moved back here, we have added significant jobs to our operations here.
We're very, very centrally located in the state, which is a big plus for us. So we're right here at Route 84 and Route 8, close to New York, close to Boston, and both Oxford Airport and Bradley.
I mean, you're at the crossroads of the action. You know, Waterbury itself is uniquely situated that if you're in a company that has to do distribution or freight or even production in the greater Waterbury area, you know, you can get in and out logistically very easy.
Another great example of why Waterbury is Coca-Cola, bottling company. Coca-Cola was recently located in another town and needed to expand, and they looked in several different locations. They chose Waterbury, and the reason why is because of the convenience of the routes.
People are looking to commit to Waterbury because we have space. We have office space and retail space and manufacturing space available. One of the other great exciting opportunities is right here on Freight Street. We're very, very excited about this parcel of land that's been for 30 years undevelopable because of brownfield problems. Working with federal and state local officials, we will remediate this property to turn it into commercial space, retail space, green space, and residential space.
A perfect example of mixed use in the city of Waterbury is NEJ. NEJ employs 260 people. Majority of the people live in Waterbury and depend upon our transportation, our bus services, to go to and from work every day.
And here's the Holland Youth Building, part of the Waterbury Next initiative as well. 120,000 square feet of space, ready to go.
Why do retailers like CarMax and Texas Roadhouse choose Waterbury?
We have a population of 110,000 people that support many businesses, both small and large. Another example of why Waterbury is Speedy Construction Company. They just recently committed to come to Waterbury, and they have a contract for the state of Connecticut that's going to extend for many years. And of all the cities that they can choose in the state of Connecticut, they chose Waterbury.
We've been very fortunate through our collaboration with the state of Connecticut and Governor Malloy to be the recipients of a $20 million grant just for downtown revitalization.
Investors are really interested in this city. I just love to look at the faces and expressions on our potential clients when they take a look at the historic buildings in downtown Waterbury.
Waterbury's open for business.
And the fact is we're ready for them. We want them here. We're doing everything we can to bring new businesses into the city of Waterbury. We're very excited.
After extensive study, it was proven that we are the least expensive city in the state of Connecticut to live in.
So why are we here? Because we're open for business.
People are relocating into Waterbury. Most importantly, businesses are relocating into Waterbury. And that's what's going to be the definer for Waterbury in the next 10 years, is these new opportunities for people to live, work, and play here.
Contact us to see if you can take advantage of our tax abatements, which range from 80 to 100% for up to 7 years.
We're open for business, so give me a call, Joe McGraw. I'll take you on a tour. Waterbury, be here. Be here. Be here.
It doesn't get old seeing that video. It just doesn't get old, especially Joe McGraw. Before I call up the mayor, I'd just like to add personally that we, as a community, are extremely lucky to have such a dedicated public servant as Mayor O'Leary to watch over this great city, whether it's as police chief or mayor or member of the Board of Education or the president of PAL. He has always put the needs of Waterbury and its residents, its seniors, and particularly its youth first. And so I think we're very lucky to have him here. Mayor O'Leary, please come up and share your report.
Well, that was very nice, Timmy. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. I have a speech that I wrote, and I'd like to get through it. It'll be accompanied by a PowerPoint, and then the best part of these luncheons usually for me is a Q&A that follows. So I'll try to get through this quickly so that we have enough time to do a little Q&A and then get you all back to work. So good afternoon. I want to start by thanking Lynn Ward and the Chamber, today's sponsors, and all of you for attending the luncheon. I see we have quite a diverse group, which really makes me quite happy. I look forward to this event each year as it gives me an opportunity to fill you in on what's happening here in this city. This year, we have prepared the PowerPoint, as I mentioned, which will illustrate some of the positive developments that are happening citywide. As many of you know, we have been in constant communication with Waterbury UConn Director, Dr. Bill Pizzuto, since taking office. Through Bill's efforts, we have developed a strong, meaningful relationship with Dr. Susan Herbst, the president of UConn. We've had several productive meetings with President Herbst, both here in Waterbury and in Stores. With the support of Senator Hartley and our delegation, we were able to initiate the redevelopment of the historic Rectory building, which was an abandoned, blighted eyesore in downtown next to the palace for decades. As a result, we recently had a ribbon cutting, and now the Rectory building is a beautiful 4-story building, which on the first floor, Starbucks is getting ready to move in, and the University of Connecticut has a 20-year lease on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floors. What that space is going to be utilized for is additional classroom space. They are growing in leaps and bounds, and we're happy, very happy about that. Also this past year, thanks to the Waterbury Next initiative, which you heard a little bit about in the video, and Governor Malloy's initiative, we're finally, after all these years, able to demolish that ugly, blighted Prospect Street ramp garage. Yeah, I agree. We also saw the completion of the Gaffney Place project, which was initiated by the Harold Webster Foundation, which I'm proud to report all the properties now are sold and occupied. As you all know, there has been much notoriety about the Freight Street corridor over the past year. The federal government, for the first time ever, awarded the city of Waterbury a $14 million Tiger grant, which amongst other things will help enhance the redevelopment of the Freight Street area. We're going to have some very exciting news concerning the Freight Street area very, very soon. I was hoping I'd have it for you today. As I teased Gary O'Connor about it, once the lawyers get involved, everything gets slowed down. When you get paid by the hour, things change. He's been the brunt of that kind of stuff for the last 4 years, so I can't let him go. The north end of the city has seen continued improvement over the past year as well, starting with the brownfield demolition and remediation on North Elm Street, which will be the future site of the Torco expansion project, adding to the grand list and growing job opportunities for our residents. We also saw the completion of Pell Park, another brownfield, which was prominently mentioned during the National Brownfield Conference this past summer in Chicago, where I was, and Gary was asked to be a presenter and speaker. Also prominently mentioned at the same conference was the Waterbury Industrial Commons project. King Industries is moving along nicely, and as we speak, and Jim Wojcicki is here with us today, Levada is expanding their footprint as well. This again, ladies and gentlemen, is very exciting news, as it will be adding to the grand list as well as creating more jobs. Across the street from Chase River Road in the same neighborhood is the incredible demolition that took place this summer over the last several months at the corner of Thomaston and Homer. This will yield a new Cumberland Farms Supercenter, adding commercial and retail space, and once again adding to the grand list and more job opportunities. On the west side of town, and one of my favorite places, and President Daisy Coco DeFilippis is here with us at lunch, is the Naugatuck Valley Community College. We're lucky through Governor Malloy and our delegation, of course Daisy's efforts, to secure a $40 million renovation project in the old Founders Hall, which will now be the new Allied Healthcare Center, Education Center, which many of you know is one of our largest employment shortage areas. So we're thrilled to have that project going. And also, through close collaboration with Daisy and a lot of arm twisting from her to me, if you ever move into a neighborhood, check all your neighbors out first. But I was there first and Daisy came later. So there are limited options now. Daisy and I are neighbors, and she is one of the biggest advocates for community colleges I've ever seen or read about in my lifetime. But you know, she's been very adamant about getting sidewalks on Chase Parkway, and she should be, because our students up there are walking in the roadway, especially this past winter, which was one of the worst winters in the history of, well, actually it was the worst winter in the history of the state. And so, you know, I said to Daisy, look, I've got masons, I've got backhoes, I've got public works people that can do just about anything. You got any money? So we made a little deal with each other. Daisy paid for the concrete, and the city of Waterbury partnered with her and built 900 feet of sidewalk along Chase Parkway, which is magnificent. And St. Mary's Hospital provided the shelter for our students. So we're not done, because we've got a long way to go up there, but we're going to be putting a lot more sidewalk on that property this spring as well. So we're really, you know, I think that's what we are most proud of in this administration, is really the collaboration between everyone, not just any single entity, but I'm talking about between education folks and manufacturing folks and all the people that we need to be with and sit around a table with to move the city together. There have been major development discussions in the south end as well, and shown here is the demolition environmental remediation project at the former Nova Dye factory. This past year also saw Loyola complete the construction of 31 affordable apartments on South Main Street, which are all occupied, and I hear there's a waiting list, as well as 20 new apartments at the former St. Francis School. We have very aggressive development plans for other areas in the south end, and I would just advise you to stay tuned. There's some good stuff in the works down there. Over on the east side of town, the Board of Aldermen on Monday night approved the city taking ownership of the MASC, which is Manufacturing Alliance Service Corporation building. This 20,000 square foot center was donated to the city and will be used to train adult ed students, veterans, long-term unemployed, and reentry people in the area of manufacturing. Through the Workforce Board, Kathy Awad is here, we've been running some great programs out of there the last couple of years, and I'm really proud to tell you that we've been meeting some of the needs of our manufacturers, but with this new collaboration and with us having a little bit more control over the destiny of the curriculum and the programs, I'm confident that we're going to continue to fill these job vacancies in these manufacturing facilities, which are sorely needed. We have continued to invest in our city parks over the past year by replacing the vandalized, blighted, non-working restrooms with modern, easy to secure and maintain wet restrooms. As you can see on the slides, we put new restrooms in Martin Luther King Park, Hopeville, Rivera Hughes, Brass Mills Park, and Library Park. Imagine having bathrooms in Library Park after all these years. We have also invested in our magnificent Fulton Park by working with the great people of Overlook and that whole great group of, that consortium of people. And we've invested heavily into the warming hut over there at Fulton Park, which has been now the site of many community events, and it's just a magnificent, magnificent place. I would invite each and every one of you to take a walk around that park this spring and then go through the warming hut facility. We have a lot of work scheduled for that area again in the spring and summer, and I can tell you that Olmsted Park is really, really going to be the jewel of the city of Waterbury. Finishing up on other projects, there are many more projects, but I think these are the ones that you might be most interested in, is the Public Works facility. You might remember we worked a deal with McDermott to take control of that property, as we felt very strongly that the 10-acre site at Wick should be a manufacturing facility and not a public works facility. It was a hotly contested item during the 2011 election, which I really enjoyed, and mostly because that's where King Industries moved into. And now our public works facility will be going over here, and probably even in a better neighborhood because it's more of an industrial area and very close to the highway. So ladies and gentlemen, that is some of the good news going on in Waterbury. And I was really fighting with myself on whether or not I was going to present to you some of the challenges, because usually when we leave here, we're all pretty happy and we get on with our day. And then I decided that the reality of the situation is we have some significant challenges here in Waterbury, and I thought, as a business community, you should know what's happening. So please don't get too saddened by this news, because there's always, I like to think the glass is half full instead of half empty. But I'm going to talk to you now about one of our major challenges, and that is healthcare coverage. It's an epidemic across the country, but particularly all I can speak about is what's happening in Waterbury. Now, if you read the Hartford Courant today, you'll see what's happening in Hartford and New Haven and Bridgeport and Stamford, and I will tell you that our picture is brighter, but not a lot. And this is the problem. Let me give you some facts. So right now we have about 12,000 people covered under our health care plan. 12,000. So you know we're self-insured. So out of those 12,000 people, 7,000 are active employees and their dependents, right? So their spouse and their children until age 26. And 5,000 people are retirees and their dependents. Again, their children until age 26. In fiscal year 05, the city of Waterbury spent $50 million on healthcare costs. In fiscal year 15, last year, we spent $100 million on healthcare costs. It's doubled in 10 years. The city's projected to spend in this fiscal year $106 million on healthcare costs. Included in these healthcare costs is our prescription drug costs. This was one of the major surprises for me. Last fiscal year, FY15, our prescription drug costs accounted for $25 million of that $100 million. $25 million. Last month alone, we filled 5,000 prescriptions for our employees and their dependents. 5,000. But what is so alarming about that number, is that number, 25 million, that doubled over fiscal year 14. Excuse me, I misrepresented that. It didn't double, it went up 20%. 20%. I was thinking about a couple of years ago when it doubled. So when I talk to you about challenges. How do you get your head around those kinds of costs? How can you control those kinds of costs? Being self-insured, so if we have a city employee or their dependent have a heart transplant next month, that's $1 million. Double lung, another $1 million. We have a set of twins that we're so grateful have survived, but they've cost us $1.3 million over the last year. So we are in a real crisis here in controlling healthcare costs. As scary as that is, out of the top 25 case claims over the last 2 years, 5 individuals collectively cost us $2.5 million in substance abuse treatment. 5 people, $2.5 million. You say, how could that possibly be? Under our health care coverage, this is what we're required to do to fulfill our obligation under our long-standing contractual obligations. I'm sure you've all read about the opioid epidemic that's happening across the country. It is happening right here in your backyard. People are dying at alarming rates. But those who are able to get into rehab programs, these rehab programs are breaking our backs. The other 20 high-cost claims over the last 2 years, every one of them are cancer related. So cancer treatments, as we all know, have been much more successful over the last 5 to 10 years than they were before, right? Fortunately, the medical world is finding ways to cure people of cancer. And boy, I'll tell you, I've had some friends of mine who I've lost to cancer over the last few years, including family members, but fortunately I've had some great friends of mine who are still here thanks to those great opportunities and new ideas in treating cancers. But it's extraordinarily expensive. And people are living longer, right? People are living much longer than they used to. People are taking care of themselves a little bit better than they used to. Our healthcare provider, Cigna, our third-party administrator, is on the forefront on this issue. You know, people trying to recognize at an early age if they live in a healthier life, they'll live longer. But those things all add, and they're all contributors to the crisis that we face. So, as I stand here before you today, I'll talk to you about some of the things that we've done to try to mitigate some of these costs. For instance, we have taken some pretty controversial steps over the last 4 years. You might remember 3.5 years ago, about 1,000 retirees converged on City Hall, and I'm glad there was no tree and rope nearby. And by the way, I knew about 995 of them. Didn't matter. When we changed over our third-party administrator. So we had never put that out to bid before. Ever. I don't know why. But we never put it out to bid before. We put it out the first year I was in office, and we changed third-party administrators. And we did it because we needed to save money. And boy, did that cause quite a stir. So 1,000 people came to City Hall, another 600 went to Kennedy High School, and another 500 went to Crosby High School. But at the end of the day, we put in place, we switched over, and I have to tell you, we sat with every one of those concerned people, and we put together a program that has worked very, very well. We've saved millions of dollars on our third-party administration fees over the last 3 years. Millions of dollars. And I never understood the whole not putting out the bid thing because there's no good explanation for it. If you don't put things out to bid, you all know, you run businesses. If someone knows that you're not going to put something out to bid, you think they're going to give you the best price because they like you? I don't think so. And that's what happened. And sure enough, when we put this out to bid, our former third-party administrator wanted to sit back down at the table with us and renegotiate their bid because they knew we were moving. So the sad part of that story is why? And I don't have the answer to that. Anyways, another very controversial thing that we're doing is that we have initiated a program putting our retirees on Medicare once they reach the age 65. Now, why would we want to do such a thing? Because when you're on Medicare and you have $1 million procedure, the government pays for $800,000 of that, 80%. And we never did that before either. We never did that before. So try living in my world, changing the third-party administrators, and then telling all your retirees that once you turn 65, or if you're already 65, we're going to put you on Medicare. Not a good story for them. They get very nervous. Now, we had some credibility with the switchover, and that helped us quite a bit. But quite frankly, we will save $7 to $10 million next fiscal year just by that initiative. By the way, we don't have everyone enrolled just yet, because we have some people who continue to believe that we're somehow reducing their benefit. We are not. As a matter of fact, we are paying for the supplements if we need to. So if they don't have Part A or Part B, we're actually going to provide it for them. You know why? Because it's cheaper in the long run. So that is the big story of this year. And as a matter of fact, this week, out of all the people who are eligible to sign up for Medicare, we've had about 100 or so who have not done so yet. And this week we'll be sending a letter to them advising them that if they don't, then we're going to take them off of the benefit rolls as of, I think, March 31st or April 1st. So that certainly is going to get their attention, and we're not trying to hurt anyone. We are not reducing anyone's benefit at all. We are not. As a matter of fact, we are making sure in specialized cases, and we all have specialized cases, different illnesses that are a little bit out of the ordinary, we are taking very good care of those people to make sure that they get the services that they need. We also have spent an enormous amount of time negotiating with our city employees through the labor contracts to bring our employees into high deductible health care plans and HSAs. Those actions alone are saving millions of dollars a year. When you insure as many people as we do, remember those active employees, those 7,000 active employees, when you can get them into the high deductible plans and the HSA plans, we save a lot of money. It does cost them more money, there's no question about it, but we can't sustain any longer, and they recognize that. Now, I will admit to you that I probably gave out healthier raises during some of these contract negotiations than we wanted to. But quite frankly, we had to, because I couldn't take the chance in some cases of going to arbitration. Because if we lose, then we lose for 3 years. We don't just lose for this year. We lose for the length of the contract. The minimum length of those contracts are 3 years. So we probably paid a little more than we wanted to, but in the long run, I will send out huge compliments from this podium to the city employees and the union leaders, because they recognize that we can't sustain. And if we can't sustain, we can't keep them. So everyone kind of sat around the table, and we finally agreed with the teachers union, with the SAW administrators union, with the fire department. By the way, the fire department was the first one to step up to the table. The blue collar, the white collar, the management union. Guess who's giving me the most trouble? Cops. They're ready to run me out of town. But the truth is, it's complicated with the police department for a variety of reasons. We are in binding arbitration with the police department. We could not settle that contract. They felt that they were willing to take the risk and go to arbitration. So we'll see what happens. It's been a heck of a fight. It's been going on for 3 years, 3.5 years, and we're still, I think our final hearing is March 20th or something around that time. And so by the summertime, we'll probably have an arbitrated award. And then guess what? July 1st, we go right back at the table again, because that contract's already going to expire. So It's been hard for me to do that, by the way, because I spent 30 years in the police department, but you know what? We just can't do it. And, you know, I felt bad because, I mean, these are my friends. I've worked with most of them, or their parents or their children. But at the end of the day, we just can't do it anymore. We just can't. And that's the message that I'm trying to send out to all of you today. You know, we just can't sustain these kinds of costs. And I'm only talking about healthcare. I'm not even going to go near education right now because that's a work in progress. But these are real costs and real fees, and that's our biggest challenge. And you know, recently I asked for a list of all the routine procedures, right? Knee replacements, hip replacements, rotator cuff, spinal fusions, and we went through a lot of the records of what we've been paying for those procedures. And I'm glad to report to you that here in Waterbury, both at Waterbury and St. Mary's Hospital, we are paying the lowest of all the healthcare providers. When our employees decide to go to other hospitals, both within the state and out of state, we're paying dramatically more fees, more expense. So it's a work in progress. I can't tell people where to get their medical procedure done, but we're trying to figure out ways to entice people where to get their medical procedures done. So that's a work in progress. So I'm very, you know, I wanted to report to you the real challenges today, because while we have so many, and we really do, listen, we've got so many good things going on in this city. I just wish we didn't have to worry about all these other things, because I just would really like one easy year, just one. That would make it perfect for me. But so far we haven't found that. But we will continue to make hard decisions. We will continue to make unpopular decisions. And we will continue to make sure that we watch out for our business community, because you are the backbone of this city. And you know, we've spent a lot of time on manufacturing in the last couple of years. And of course, we're spending a lot of time with our healthcare providers. I feel very good about what's happening with Waterbury Hospital and St. Mary's. Maybe the third time, hopefully, Darlene, right? The third time is the charm. Trinity and St. Mary's seem to be moving along very nicely, and Waterbury and Prospect Medical seem to be moving along very nicely. So I feel like we're going to be in a great place when these mergers take place. I think there'll be a huge capital infusion into both facilities that will be very beneficial for all of you in the greater Waterbury and the greater Waterbury community. Okay? So I think now I probably laid the table pretty good for a lot of questions. So I'm ready. I'm ready for any one of you guys. Who's got a question? None of you? Dr. Pizzuto.
Can you talk about the education cost sharing that you might or might not get from the state?
Yes. So education cost sharing. So every year they call it the ECS formula. So wait till you hear this one. So under their formula, and by they I mean the state of Connecticut, under their formula, Waterbury, Connecticut is underfunded by $47 million a year. Waterbury is the #1 underfunded city in the state of Connecticut. Why are we underfunded $47 million a year? Because the fact of the matter is the education cost share formula has not really been revisited since it was drafted, and we have a different population than many other communities around us. So specifically, we have a demographic here in the city of Waterbury that has special needs and challenges, right? We're a city. So when you have a city, you have children who have issues. And so we have a large special education population, and we spend lots and lots of money in that area. And the state hasn't caught up to us just yet. There is a case going on right now, and I send a staff member almost every day to Hartford to take notes and report back to me, because Waterbury is a plaintiff in this case, and it is this case being heard right now in Superior Court up in Hartford, and it's a case that was brought against the state of Connecticut by the city of Stamford back in 2005 by then Mayor Malloy. And Mr. Mayor Malloy brought this suit against the state of Connecticut because he felt that the city of Stamford was not being funded fairly. And so we are a part of that, along with many, many other larger and medium-sized cities. And we will be, hopefully, given an opportunity to be heard and to talk about the disparity of funding for urban versus suburban. So while we are underfunded, number one, there are many suburban areas of Connecticut who are overfunded. And so we're just trying to be on a fair playing field. In all fairness to the state of Connecticut, over the last several years, we have received $20 million a year supplemental alliance, what's called alliance money. And that's been extraordinarily helpful, except the issue is the substantial majority of that money is supposed to be used towards reform, not operations. So we're happy to get the money, even the 9 million or 8 million, whatever the formula figures out this year. I keep trying to get them to move more towards operations and reform, but we're still severely underfunded, which means that it falls on the backs of the Waterbury taxpayers. You know, children have a constitutional and a civil right to education. If we have children, listen, we've got children, we've got 6 registered nurses on our payroll every day that are one-on-one with 6 students. We have students with tracheotomies. We have students with incredible special needs. The other cities, they send those kids out of city, out of district, to special medical facilities. And it costs tons and tons of money. They send about 10% of that population out. We send 2.5% out. 2 reasons. One, cost analysis is that it's probably cheap. It's not probably, it's cheaper for us to try to handle these situations in-house. And 2, it's easier on the families. It's easier on the families than to send these children who are so challenged. Oh, I can't even tell you. Who are so challenged into some sort of transport vehicle, usually an ambulance, to a facility that's nowhere. I think the closest one is 20 miles away. It's just a huge burden on these families. And so we try to handle these types of things in-house. And we've been successful at it. We've actually built classrooms just for these children, recognizing their needs. You know, one of the things you learn about quickly when you're on the mayor or even on the Board of Education, if you take enough interest in it, is that it is just amazing the different challenges that you will learn about. And then when you go home, you will be very, very happy to hug your children and your family and recognize that the world is not always as pleasant as you may have thought it was before you got involved with these types of positions. It's very difficult for these people, but we have an obligation. We have speech pathologist positions we can't fill. We have audiologist positions we can't fill. We have all types of therapeutic positions that we can't fill. And that's the frustration here in the city of Waterbury and the other major cities. And we sit around a table with the other big city mayors, and we've been doing that a lot lately, crying together. And we recognize that we're not going to fix these issues overnight, but we really do have to stop complaining and start developing a plan. And so we've been working very closely. I'm involved now on the board of directors and the executive board with CCM and trying to work with the larger city mayors and to come up with a plan instead of just going up to Hartford and complaining, because they don't listen to you anyway, so let's be honest about it. But I will say one thing. We cannot take one more unfunded mandate. We can't. Now, I'm testifying on a bill tomorrow in Hartford that wants to give police officers, firefighters, and EMS workers workman comp opportunities for post-traumatic stress syndrome. Now, let me tell you, I feel like I could say this because I was in law enforcement for 32 years. I've seen things that no one should ever see. I've been to murders and accidents that I will never forget. But you know, so have our soldiers, and so have everyone else. And you know, to place that burden on the local municipality, which is exactly what's going to happen, we can't do it. So if you don't want to see that, then don't be a cop or a fireman or an ambulance driver. And the chances of you not seeing that thing will be diminished by 90%. You know, when I went on the police department, we knew what we were getting ourselves into, and they know what they're getting themselves into today. And don't get me wrong, I feel bad for all of them. But the reality is, we can't do it because we don't have the funding to be able to do it. And I'm representing CCM tomorrow in Hartford, and believe me when I tell you, you think the cops are mad at me now? They'll be a lot madder at me tomorrow. And if you see me with a driver, you'll know why. But in all fairness, the other mandate that is up, and it's going to get a lot of attention, is the cancer presumption bill that is wandering around up there now, and this deals with firefighters. So if a firefighter has some sort of cancer, it's presumed that it's from being a firefighter. They've tried this. The firefighters unions have tried to get this through over the last several years with little success. However, I'm being told that this year, there's a high likelihood there's going to be a compromise. I'm not going to presume what the compromise is just yet, because the issues, I testified against that last year too, but the issues that I brought up last year, they claim they are negotiating over. But let me just tell you this, to my knowledge, and I'm not a medical expert, there still is no direct correlation between cancers, certain types of cancers, and firefighters. There is certainly a number of firefighters in the Waterbury Fire Department that have developed cancer over the last 5 years, and I pray for every one of them, and we do everything we can for each of them. But there's also a number of police officers who have developed cancers over the last 5 years as well. And so, you know, I can tell you that one of my fears is if the firefighters are successful on their bill, then the legislators in their infinite wisdom, did I say that? The legislators will feel sorry for the cops and find a way to embrace that as well. So I'm getting myself in a whole lot of trouble here today, but the reality is, I said to myself when I walked up here, I was going to tell you like it is, and that's what I'm doing. You need to know, and you need to talk to your legislators, both at the federal level and the state level, and you need to make sure that they understand that you guys and gals, as business leaders in this community, cannot take anymore. Just can't. I hear it from you all every single day. And so when you look at the challenges that the city of Waterbury has without these, and by the way, a lot of our challenges are from unfunded mandates from years past, but if they're going to entertain more unfunded mandates in this fiscal year that will apply to next fiscal year, I don't know how we're going to do it. I really don't know how we're going to maintain the services that we provide, how we're going to provide the quality of education to our children, how we're going to protect and police our streets and our firefighters and our public works people, and be able to take care of all these other additional costs. I just don't know how, and I really mean that sincerely. So I'd like to have one more question, because I haven't had any real questions, only one. Who's got a question? Yes.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Very good. It's actually wonderful to be here this afternoon, sitting amongst many wonderful leaders for this great city of Waterbury. And also, I do listen to you on WATR quite frequently. I just want to let you know before I say my question is, one of the best things is that you, Fritz, Giuseppe Pisani, and whoever worked on the cross, I think that cross at Holy Land is the best thing, one of the best things that ever happened to the city of Waterbury, because I grew up with it.
Thank you.
Just as I'm hot on Holy Land, I'm also wondering what your discussions are about the bus depot for Prospect Street. So So I would like to know, I'm not looking for where you took down that ramp garage for the bus depot to go there, and I'm certainly not looking for any bathrooms over there. They can stay over in Waterbury Park, I'm sorry to say. I don't want them over there. So anyways, I would like to know, what's the discussion on that bus depot?
Okay, so we're faced with the never-ending dilemma of the buses on the green, right? So a lot of the people who come in from outside of Waterbury, they say, well, I don't feel safe in downtown Waterbury because of the green, right? So who are the people on the green that make them feel unsafe? Well, some of them are elderly people that live downtown Waterbury, and some of them are other young people who occupy some halfway houses in downtown Waterbury that I've been very vocal about over the last 4 years. And some of them are just people who are unemployed, and some of them are people who are vagrants and are soliciting people for money. And at the end of the day, what happens is when our friends from suburbia come into downtown Waterbury, they don't feel safe. And you know what? It's been an issue not just for the last 4 years, but it's been an issue since University of Connecticut opened in downtown Waterbury. And slowly but surely, we're trying to find ways. But a lot of those people are people that are using the Pulse Point, the bus service. So what they're doing is they're getting off of one bus, they're waiting for the next bus, and then what happens is the whole green is congested with all these buses and all this noise and all this craziness, and it's been going on for years. So there's been a lot of talk. The newspaper's written probably 100 articles about it. There's been a lot of talk about trying to find alternative routes for the buses and an alternative pulse points. So when we tore down the ramp garage, someone, not me, said, oh, that's where they're going to put the bus depot. And honestly, I don't think the bus depot is going there, but I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure. Don't hold me to it just yet. The truth is, I don't think it meets the needs of what we need, and I don't know yet. We're spending more money on the transportation study and trying to figure out if we can come up with a plan that might be acceptable, never to all, because this is Waterbury, but to most. And we're trying to figure it out. It's tough. Because, Father Ford is the new vicar down at the Immaculate, and I love him, and he's a good guy, and he's trying to do the right thing down there. And, he tells me, Neil, this is such a challenge for me because my parishioners don't feel safe. And then, you go across to St. John's, they're closing that church. They're closing that church. And it's not because downtown Waterbury is unsafe. It's because no one goes to church there anymore. But no one goes to church anymore. A lot of people don't go to church anymore anywhere, right? I would say that all of you that go to church on a regular basis, I'll bet you whatever church you're going to, you've seen a massive reduction over the last 10 years in your church. Let's be honest about that. However, St. John's is an iconic part of downtown Waterbury, and they're closing. And I'm scared about them closing because I don't know what's going to go in there, and I don't think it's going to be another church. So we've got to worry about that. And so we're trying to. I talked to the pastor of St. John's, who, by the way, unfortunately just left and went to Fairfield. She's a great lady. I asked her if she was leaving because of the green. She said no. I don't know. But she said to me, Neil, I don't know how you're going to do it, but a lot of our issue is, people thinking that downtown Waterbury is unsafe. I'm not saying people stop coming into St. John's because of that, but our remaining parishioners, who are very few, are always complaining about the perception. So we've got a lot of work to do on trying to improve the perception. And by the way, I can tell you with a great deal of confidence, and probably I'm cursing myself, something bad will happen today. There is very little, very, very, very little crime in downtown Waterbury. And to fight that perception, we've been fighting it for the last decade, and we continue to fight it. But in reality, if people don't look like us, or people don't dress like us, or people don't talk like us, or walk like us, sometimes we feel unsafe. And that's just not right. It just isn't. It just isn't. But my job is to sell the city of Waterbury and to bring people into Waterbury and make people feel safe and try to figure out why they don't. And when you figure all those things out, you try to come up with solutions. And one of the solutions is to continue to try to figure out a way to move buses off the green. So we're not sure what's going to happen with that Prospect North Main Street site, quite frankly, but I don't see that as the relief for the buses on the green issue. But we don't know just yet. I'm not a transportation expert. I'm waiting for some reports to come in. I would love to be able to figure something out, because I think if we were able to move the Pulse Point off the green, people would feel a lot differently about downtown Waterbury. There'd be a whole heck of a lot less congestion, and there'd be a whole heck of a lot less people. So we're going to put a big fence around the green this spring. We are. Don't think it's because we're locking people out. We're going to put a big fence around the green because we're doing that whole green over. We're not changing the green. We're going to give it a beautiful facelift. Everything and every monument and everything will remain the same, but it's dirty and worn out and gross. And so we're going to do we got some money from Governor Malloy to do this, and we're going to put utilities under the green, like electricity, so you don't see extension cords going from tree to tree. And we're going to hopefully put some water fountains and some what do you call that, Joe? Wi-Fi. Yeah, Wi-Fi. We're going to put Wi-Fi, but we're going to do it, and we're fencing off the green, and we're going to move everything over to Grand Street, by the way. So we're going to, for a short period of time, or maybe a few months, we're going to have the Pulse Point be on Grand Street. And we've done that before. I think we did it about 3 years ago, Joe. I forgot why we did it, but we did it for a couple of days, and it was different. It was really different. And we're going to see, just for the heck of it, we're just going to see what the reaction from the community is on that front. So, but I'm really looking forward to the revitalization of the green, because it is a beautiful, magnificent green, and it just needs some tender loving care it hasn't gotten in many, many, many years. So we're going to invest into that. So there's a lot going on. We still have about 7 minutes. David?
I figured I would ask a question if no one else is.
Sure.
I actually have.
You've got your reporter hat on, and you got your chamber hat
You
on.
can take the reporter out of the newsroom, but not the newsroom out of the reporter. I actually have two, so I'm going to let you pick which one you want to answer.
Okay.
One concerns the Bristol Babcock facility. The other concerns the school building projects.
Okay, I'm going to answer both of them.
Okay.
I was on the phone this morning with Norman Drubner, who owns Bristol Babcock. I can tell you that he's been deeply engaged with me on that piece of property before the fire. Before the fire, I met with Mr. Drubner twice, because I was trying to figure out how we could make that into this beautiful residential area. I don't know if anybody's been down there lately, but if you haven't, you should. It's beautiful down there. The river is clean. There's osprey going down into the river, pulling out fish. You'd think you were in Colorado, I'm telling you. You got to think positive. You got to listen. The glass is half full, but it's nice. And I was talking to Norman and asking him what his plans were, and of course he doesn't really have any. He paid a lot of money for that building a while back, like somewhere in the tune of $3 or $4 million, and he hasn't been able to do a thing with it, because the remediation, the environmental remediation costs far exceed what he thinks he can get for a return on the investment, and he's right. So now the fire happens, and now all the neighbors are up in arms, and as well as they should be. And we've been in constant communication with EPA Region 1 in Boston, DEEP here in Connecticut, as well as Norman, as well as the Connecticut Department of Public Health and the City of Waterbury Department of Health. And we're trying to make that scene safe. And that's exactly what we did down at 313 Mill Street. So stay tuned. We have plans to find a remediation package and put it together, and we have support from our federal and state partners as well. What we need is, I want a long-term plan. And the long-term plan, I'm hoping, would be to clean it out like we did Mill Street. And then I would really love to see a 55 and older community down there on that property. I think it would be a magnificent place. We have a lot of 55 and older people who would really like to move back into the city because their houses are empty, because their kids are all gone. But we don't have that type of housing for them. And so they're going to Middlebury and they're going to Prospect, and this is a nice piece of property. And if you go across the way, you're in Hop Brook, and you won't see better wildlife than that area. So we're really hot on that, and we're trying to work closely with Mr. Drubner. On the school construction projects, you know, I was a member of the school board, and I called it 2.5 years a hard time. I think I would have rather been in Summers, honestly. However, moving forward, we have a new school board, and the challenges are still the same. We have a very crowded East End. Chase School is crowded, Generali is crowded, Bucks Hill is very crowded. So our school board wants us to build a new pre-K to 8 school, and they want to go right back to the Bird Sanctuary or Ferone Avenue, which both of them are probably not suitable sites. I met with, and I penned a letter this morning to the school board, the Board of Aldermen, and the Superintendent of Schools, and the letter went like this. I met with Archbishop Blair last, was it Thursday, Judy? Yeah. Last Thursday, and we had a great meeting. Archbishop came down to the Basilica with a whole bunch of clergy people, and we had a really good meeting. And you know, here's how it goes in the Catholic Church for those of you that don't know. So the Archdiocese, you know, they're the big bosses up there, and they kind of guide every church in their, in this case it's the Archdiocese of Hartford. So what's happening, like in the churches of St. John and others, you know, less and less people are sending their kids to Catholic grammar school. I love Catholic grammar school. I'm a huge supporter of Catholic grammar school. My kids went to Catholic grammar school. I think Catholic grammar schools are great because I believe in that. I'm Catholic. But the truth is, they're becoming more and more expensive, and people just can't afford them anymore. And there's been a lot of talk about different ways of supplementing funding. Vouchers is one of them. I think it's a great idea, but the union-controlled Democratic legislature in Connecticut doesn't agree. So we're not getting anywhere with that concept. So at the end of the day, the schools continue to see enrollment declining. Blessed Sacrament, my school, has lost 100 kids over the last 10 years. St. Peter and Paul, the same, and St. Mary's, even more. The only healthy school right now, by the Archdiocese standards, is Mount Carmel, which has not lost a single child over the last 10 years. As a matter of fact, has added some. So there's going to be some changes, and we don't know exactly what they're going to be, because it's up to this is what shocked me last Thursday, it's up to the individual parishes to decide what they're going to do with their school. I was surprised to hear that, because I thought the Archbishop could just kind of tell them what he wanted, but he can't, as he explained it anyways. I think I got it right, Judy? So he was great, but he did say to me, I said, look, I've got this problem in the East End. I don't want to spend money if I don't need to spend money, and I feel terrible that these schools may have to consolidate, because I believe in Catholic schools. I'd rather see them grow instead of shrink, but the reality is, that's the reality. So I am not going to support any new school construction project until we know what's going on with these Catholic assets here in the city of Waterbury. It would be foolish and irresponsible in my mind. So the first remark I get back from my email this morning, well, then what are we going to do about these overcrowded schools? Well, the schools have been overcrowded in the East End for several years, and I don't like it any more than anyone else does, but we're going to have to wait and see, because we're not going to invest $50 million into anywhere unless we're sure that we don't have an alternative plan. And we could have an alternative plan. I don't know what's going to happen with St. Peter and Paul. I don't know what's going to happen with Blessed Sacrament, and I don't know what's going to happen with St. Mary's Grammar School. But I will tell you that the forecast is not that sunny for them. So I feel bad saying it, because I do believe in the Catholic education so much, and I think everybody in this room that knows me knows that. But we have to, I'm the mayor now, so I have to make decisions that are responsible for the taxpayers, and the decision can't be made until we know what they're going to do out there. And I don't want to push anybody, and I'm not pushing anybody. I'm not getting involved with that, I'll tell you. But the truth of the matter is, it would appear that something is going to be happening. And so we're just going to wait and see. And then at the end of the day, if we don't have any opportunities in the East End, we'll have to come up with Plan B, and I don't know what that is. But it's unlikely it's going to be on Frone Avenue because that site is very challenged. And the bird sanctuary, the last time we announced that we were going to do something in the bird sanctuary, which probably is the best piece of property to put school, by the way, because it's right inside Hamilton Park and it would be beautiful. However, it wasn't a very popular idea. So people came out en masse to protest that the last time, and I would like to find a compromise. So I think a compromise would be wise to wait and see, because I think there will be some opportunities, but I'm not certain of what assets will be available. Okay? Anybody else have any? You guys all anxious to get back to work, huh? Anybody else have any questions at all? Listen, I just will close it out by saying, again, I thank all of you, especially the sponsors, for being here. The relationship between the Chamber and this, our administration over the last 4 years has been extraordinary. You wouldn't believe how many people go to the website and hit on these videos and then call Joe McGraw and others in our office. So they're well worth the investment. We have brought in so many different opportunities over the last 4 years that we're so proud of, and we have some really good things to announce to you very, very soon that I think will make you all happy as business leaders in the city of Waterbury. And so I'm really happy about that. And I didn't mean to put a damper on the parade by talking about the challenges, but you need to know them, because I will bet you that each and every one of you are dealing with the same issues depending on what your situation is. Many of you have insurance for your health care, so you may not see the direct, but pay attention to it, because I'm telling you right now, you're going to see some enormous increases on your premiums over the next couple of years, and you need to get in front of it and understand that it's coming. And then there are opportunities you in the private sector may want to take advantage of to try to figure out some savings. But in our side, it's a little bit more challenging. And when you talk about substance abuse and what it costs, obviously I bet almost everybody in this room might know someone or have a family member or a distant friend who is dealing with that issue somewhere in their household, and it's brutal, gut-wrenching, sad, horrible, bad. I've been around a long time. I've never seen it any worse than it is right now. I've never seen so many people die, and I've never seen so many people addicted. And it really comes from painkillers, and then it goes from there. I will go back one step further and say it comes from marijuana usage, but that's a whole nother debate. Oh, by the way, they want to legalize pot this year too. Go figure. Having said that, thank you all very much. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. It's really a privilege of our chamber to have the very close working relationship with the City of Waterbury, with our Economic Development Director, Joe McGraw, with Waterbury Development Corporation, and Main Street Waterbury. Your membership in the chamber pays for our involvement in these economic development and public policy initiatives. We will have one more public policy event coming up. March 14th will be the legislative dinner at the Crown Plaza. I know you're here today because you're interested in public policy, and we hope to see you at that event as well. Thank you again to our sponsors. They're up on the banner, they're in the program. Please thank these companies. It's what makes us thrive in our community. Thank you all for coming today. Bye-bye.